Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are changing things up a little bit. Instead of having Meet the Teacher, the VIP Kid Teacher, we have Meet a Spouse of a VIP Kid Teacher. Hey, Andrew.
Hello, hi Casey. Thanks for having me
So,
on.
yeah, thanks for coming on. I do have a huge question for you first, though.
Yeah.
What is it like being a spouse of a VIP Kid Teacher?
I remember I went to one, I guess I don't know what, some sort of VIP kid meetup, or it was in, I think it was in Vegas, maybe. I
Okay.
know my wife Heather, she's been to a couple different ones throughout the United States, and I walked in there, and I was just kind of just noticing the energy of the event and the people there, and I was kind of noticing the people, and I'm like, oh wow, everyone here is very much like you, just very bubbly, like big kind of personality, and so I just found that very interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting with the hours. That's something that's very unique,
Mhm.
and having a spouse that's working, getting up very early, and so
Right.
I've done that a few times, and that wasn't my most fun experience. So I definitely respect her ability to be able to do that, and anyone that does that. So
We're moving, and the office is right next to our bedroom, and my husband's like, are you sure you want that room? And I'm like, why? It's decent size. And he's like, yeah, the walls are connected to the room. And I'm like, oh, because you hear me at 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
that's
So props to the spouses out there.
yes.
So for those of you that don't know, you've been on this channel before. Well, your wife has been on this channel before. Heather, she's a yoga instructor, my very good friend. So I'm super excited to have Andrew here. And Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I grew up on the East Coast outside of Philadelphia, and just growing up, I kind of had this basic, simple knowing that one day I would leave my hometown. I didn't know where I would go or what I'd be doing. I just had the knowing that eventually I would have to leave.
Hmm.
And I had my kind of own struggle just kind of getting out and leaving, but once that kind of came to fruition, I landed in Chicago, and I was going to art school there. And the interesting thing that was happening there, I was studying fiction writing. I'm an artist, and I really enjoy writing.
Hmm.
And they would say things like in these really long classes where we would, read from a book and kind of dissect the chapters and the writing style. And they'd always say things like, "Okay, like in your mind's eye." And I always found that kind of interesting. I was like, I never heard anyone say things like that. And it was a weird kind of foreshadowing moment or kind of precursor where, while I was in Chicago, my roommate, his name was Ryan. He's from the West Coast in California, and over there they're kind of more open to spirituality and things like that. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm into spirituality. It took him like maybe the second semester to open up, and he's just like, hey, I'm into spirituality, and I've taken some classes, and hey, I found this school in Chicago. It's not that far away. Do you want to go get an R rating? And I'm like, I have no idea what that even means. But I was
Right.
just like, when I moved to Chicago, I was just so open. I was just like, I want to meet new people. It's this big new city. Like, just the sounds of siren. I grew up in the middle of the woods, so like seeing the sirens and the trains and just getting lost. It's just a whole the
Right.
people. It's just very intense. But I was just very open. I was just like, I'm open to new experiences, and I was like, okay, let's go do it. And I get to this school, and it's on Clark Street in Chicago, and I don't think it's there anymore. But I'm sitting down in front of like three people, and they start to, the main reader in front of me starts to read me. They're kind of like reading my aura, this energy field around your physical body. They say, all living things have this energy field around the body. And so they're reading this. Their eyes are closed, and they're kind of just, saying certain colors or describing mental image pictures. And
Hmm.
it was validating. I really had a lot of fun getting the reading. But what I was noticing for myself was like, how are you doing this? What is this, and how are you doing this?
Right.
And that's where my curiosity kind of led me to taking, learning to take meditation classes there, and just kind of started going through these different spiritual trainings there, and that's kind of how my journey really began.
Cool. Do you still keep in touch with your friend that introduced you to the school or to the readings?
Not so much lately. We
Mm.
were like best friends, inseparable. Like,
Yeah.
people just did not understand how our friendship at all. But I mean, like, it was almost like soulmates, like just brothers. Like,
Yeah.
we were really there for each other in just kind of hard times. And I owe a lot to him, because that's kind of like when my spiritual awakening kind of happened. It all stemmed from him just giving me a book. And that's what really just like blew open the door. And so,
The
um,
power of books.
yeah, seriously. Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Yeah.
So I had never heard of any of this. I mean, I've heard of readings and things, but not until hanging out with your wife and her and I in our yoga classes and then meeting you. And so what is a clairvoyant or
Yeah.
clairvoyancy? I've looked it up, the definition types, but I'd rather hear it from from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe maybe the word's French. I'm not sure. There's a
Uh-huh.
bunch of different clairs. There's clairsentience, which is a, it's a second chakra ability to feel energy.
Hmm.
Um, So some people may have heard chakras before, and so this is just a second chakra, your emotional center just below the navel area. And clairsentience, it just kind of translates to kind of clear feeling. And I think most people can relate to that, and that's why I start with that.
Yeah.
So when you meet someone, you first date, job interview, visit a whole new place on vacation, you're feeling the vibe, you're feeling the energy, and hey, good vibes, I'm digging it. Not so great vibes, not digging this, you know what I mean? So we all
Yeah.
feel energy, and I think most people can relate to that. They just wouldn't call it being psychic. Um, so then you move to, say, your communication. So there's this thing called clairaudience, so clear hearing. So you can hear very well, you can hear energy, just the way you feel energy or feel vibes, you can actually hear it. And it's a way to communicate with the spirit world. So the most common example I can give is if you've ever, or any of the listeners that are kind of listening to this, when you go to fall asleep or even kind of in that transition of waking up, if you ever heard your name called out kind of loudly and kind of clearly, or
Hmm.
you've just heard something, it could be possible that it might be a spirit guide or a deceased loved one or some spirit that's wanting to kind of communicate with you. So that's the most common example that I can give with that one.
Yeah.
But then we get up to here is clairvoyance. It's a six chakra ability to simply see clearly, just see yourself,
Mhm.
others, the world, humanity, simply as they are. So without any judgment. And it's your ability to see colors, symbols, and mental image pictures. And that's kind of where I really operate, is kind of as a clairvoyant. I see colors and pictures, and in readings, I describe this to people. And it's not that I'm trying to give advice or say, hey, this is exactly what this means. I'm just painting a picture with as much detail as possible. And then I say, okay, here's the general tone or energy of the picture. Just the way when you would sit down and read maybe a chapter from a book, there's kind of like a tone that the author's kind of bringing into this kind of scene. It's no different when you're kind of seeing a picture. Or
Right.
you walk into a museum and you kind of look at this picture, and it has a kind of tone or an energy to it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with a mental image picture.
Interesting. I'm like all last time I talked to Andrew, I was the same way. I'm like just trying to listen and soak it all in.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I keep looking over myself and I have this serious look. I'm like, I'm just listening.
Yeah. No,
It's
it's
just
it's it's a weird thing. It's not a very we heard maybe psychic, but it's just going more deeper into it. It's not very common for most people, I think. So
right.
it's a different thing. Yeah.
So can it be learned or taught, or is it just something people are born with, or how does?
Everybody has this. These are all our spiritual gifts. So sometimes we might get into that mentality or thinking that, oh, just only a select few have these different abilities, right?
Mhm.
And that's just not the case. It's that everybody has this. But some people might be listening to this and be going, I don't have that. I don't experience that, or I'm not. That's not me, or I'm not into that. But essentially, we all have it. It's just, I'd say, most people in life, they are just kind of feeling energy.
Mhm.
That's the most relatable, most common one. Again, we just might not call it psychic. And I think the word psychic, that can scare people off. It's just, whoa,
Right.
psychic. No, it's not. It just means actually of the soul or pertaining to the soul. That's all psychic really means. And you have these psychic abilities, these soul abilities. That's all they are. They're just abilities. And everything in the universe is energy, and just you have these different ways to perceive energy, whether it's through feeling, hearing, seeing, or just kind of knowing. And those are the
Right.
different ways you can perceive energy. But we all have it. And I've gone through classes and trainings, and I teach this stuff so that you can really open it up more and develop it. So most people, these upper higher abilities kind of get tuned off because just in society, there's not a lot of awareness, and they tend to get invalidated very easily. So it just kind of starts to shut off. It's just like, oh, wait a second, this isn't really working. This isn't really accepted or okay here. So I'm just going to tune this stuff down so I can kind of fit in and just kind of quote unquote, just feel kind of normal.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't know how many normal we have on this channel. People come here because they say I'm a little bit crazy. So not normal on this channel is okay.
Oh, great. Yeah, we'll fit right in here then.
Right? I don't know who's normal. I don't even know what normal is, right?
Right.
So is it something you can turn on and turn off, or are you just always, does it just come and go? I don't know how to describe my question. I think you can probably understand what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Is it always a feeling like somebody walks by you and you just feel something, or do you have to be like sitting down with that person and talking and connecting?
I mean, I think it's happening on an unconscious level, and then just some people might be more sensitive, and they just might not have, the terms or just the fuller awareness of what's happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some people might be just more sensitive on a feeling level. So maybe when they're around people or large groups or wherever it is, and it's just like, whoa, why do I feel so intense or overwhelmed? It's just that they're just very much opened up on a clairsentient level, just that clear feeling level. And sometimes it might go, wait a second, something's wrong with me. And actually, it's just they're so sensitive, they're picking up on everyone else's energy. And imagine if you're in a group of people, especially a large group, and you're just feeling what everyone else is feeling, and who knows what they're feeling or what their state is, that can be kind of overwhelming and intense.
Right.
So it can be helpful to kind of learn about, okay, what is this ability and how do I manage that so that, it's not just, hey, I'm just going to remove myself from going out in large groups. I want to still go out and go to a concert or whatever it is, and just be able to be okay with it and not have to be like, oh, I don't have to feel everything of what's happening.
Right.
You can kind of learn to tune it down. Just go, okay, this is better. Let me just enjoy the music.
I find myself gravitating towards that positive energy so I don't have to deal with like, you can feel negative energy from people, and I'm just like, I want no part of that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a natural tendency to just, especially when you're more sensitive on different levels, you're picking up on it, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to move over this direction.
Right.
And you can experience it in different ways, whether it's a feeling or you're hearing or you're kind of seeing or just knowing. That's, especially if people say like their spidey sense, to me, that's kind of them just kind of being psychic or intuitive. Especially usually on that feeling level of just, my gut feeling. That's the kind of clairsentient second chakra level.
Right. Yeah. It's so fascinating to me. So, well, okay, here's my quick little thing. I usually get a feeling of negative from people, and then I'll say, ooh, that person has done bad. And every time it has come out. And my friends are always like, you need to like use that gift and talk to people, tell people. But yeah, it's been some pretty rough ones. I'm like, oh no, there's something not right there. So that's just me on that one level. Is just a person feeling of, I don't know why, but that person's not good. I have no idea why, and no reason. They haven't given me any reason to know. I just know there's something not correct there,
Yeah. So you're just aware of an energy, and then you kind of, you make a form a conclusion based off of that, and just, whatever you decide in that moment.
Yeah.
But it's just no different like with, like, say, clairaudience, clear hearing. Sometimes people can be saying certain things. You hear the words, but underneath it, you hear the actual energy. It's kind of like someone like, oh, I'm so sorry, or this, or it could be anything. And you're kind of like, okay, I hear you saying that, but underneath it, actually, I'm hearing something completely different. So it's like almost like the words are kind of like, oh, this is a lie, but underneath, you can kind of get a read on what's underneath the words.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other different ability there.
I get what you're saying there, but that's not me. I think everyone's like hunky dory most of the time when they're talking. They say sorry. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, It's just a basic example. It could be
That's
anything
interesting
really.
though. Yeah. So I've taken one of your classes. How can other people take different? You offer different classes too, right? So how can they find you, and what classes do you have?
Yeah, I mean, so the business name's Green Light Yoga.
Hmm.
So my wife Heather, she teaches the yoga side. I kind of teach more of the meditation side. So I mean, it's just greenlight.yoga. That's the website. But yeah, I mean, the foundation of what I teach starts with just basic meditation. Um, so yeah, you learn basically it's 6 classes. The starting point, which I believe you learned in the willpower workshop that I
Willpower.
taught,
Hmm.
it's just getting grounded. It's just learning to get connected with the earth. It's just a way to feel safe in the body, permission to be more present in the body, and start a way to start releasing unwanted energies. You mentioned that negative energy that you kind of notice when
Hmm.
you might be out or interacting with certain people. Sometimes what we can do on an ego level, we might resist some of these negative energies and it gets stuck. Where most of the time things are okay, the energy's flowing around us and through us, not a problem. But once the ego starts to resist, things will get stuck a little bit. And so when you learn to ground your body and get safe, you have a way to start releasing and sending that down. So that's kind of the starting point of what I teach in that Art of Meditation series.
Great. And so they go to Greenlight Yoga,
Yep.
greenlight.yoga, same as Heather.
Correct. Yep.
We'll put all the links below in the description box too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
your clairvoyant training, now that's long, right? It's,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
obviously, obviously there's a lot more to it than.
yeah. So that's just a starting point. Like once someone would take, say, that 6 class series on just learning how to meditate, and it's visual
Okay.
meditation. Again, they learn things like how to heal themselves by working with earth and cosmic energies. Where do you go when you meditate? A lot of people, they just close their eyes and, okay, I'm breathing, but where am I going? What am I doing? So you learn about where you go and, when you meditate. You
Hmm.
learn how to get yourself unstuck using certain visual techniques and tools, and kind of aligning with that higher part of your soul, kind of that part of you that has the purpose for this specific lifetime. Like, hey, what did I come down here to do? And sometimes in life, some people feel lost or disconnected. They might be disconnected from that part of themselves. And once you start to realign to that part of yourself, suddenly, oh, I just have more of a knowing about, hey, who I am and what I'm doing here. And things feel a lot more fulfilling and just kind of joyous. So yeah, that's the Art of Meditation. And then yeah, I offer a whole year-long clairvoyant training where you start to open this 6 chakra ability up.
Hmm.
That's the emphasis of it, where you start to see colors and symbols and pictures. And it's really a year-long journey, not just in just developing your clairvoyance. You learn about all the different abilities that you have, but it's really about self-healing and self-discovery. Well, when I went through my training when I was 22, before I entered that training, I was very lost, confused, I was depressed. And then
Hmm.
taking that training, it explained a lot of things. And I suddenly started to gain a lot of certainty about, oh my God, this is who I am. Because the more
Right.
you can see these images about who you are and your energy, your essence, your truth, that's really what this is about, is opening up so you can see your own truth. And that's
Right.
very rewarding and validating. And the more you just constantly see these pictures about yourself and kind of what you love and what's your purpose and your dreams, you just have a lot of certainty about, oh, okay, this is who I am. And now I'm going to go do that. I'm going to be myself. I'll embrace my energy and kind of walk my path in life. So,
Good.
yeah. That's it kind of in a nutshell, but yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think because I listen to Heather and she'll tell me like the next day, "Whew, that was a great training," or "Wow, we had to go over a lot yesterday." So I love like
Yeah.
just learning from her as well, her reactions, but it's hard to
Yeah.
explain on here all of that. So
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but
yeah,
yeah, essentially, what she's talking about is the growth periods. When
yeah,
you enter a training like this, you're making these adjustments in spirit, and when you make those adjustments in spirit, it takes time for your body to catch up. So when someone starts to enter the training, they're going to start to notice a difference of going like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And it's that time for the body to catch up to all these changes you're making in spirit. You're letting these invalidations go and embracing more of your own essence. And essentially, you start to take a look at kind of past memories
Mm-hmm.
from this lifetime, and that's where the really deep healing takes place, as you kind of start to see, okay, how is this one memory or these series of memories limiting one or more aspects of your life? And you start to learn how to do these different healing techniques to kind of free yourself from that, and then suddenly you're going through all these changes and transformation. And it can be really powerful, but it can be challenging along the way. Sure.
Right. So if people have questions, or I don't know, they can put them below this video and I'll try to send them to him. Or do you have an email address or some way of them to ask questions
Yeah.
directly?
Yeah. So it's andrew@greenlight.yoga. That's my
Oh,
email. And
that's easy.
any questions about anything, even if you feel it's a dumb question, I don't see there's any dumb questions, just feel free to reach out and ask, and I'm more happy to correspond. So.
They're used to me. I always have questions.
Questions are good. That's good.
In basic training, they're like, "Do you always ask this many questions?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's you again? Okay. Yeah. So Andrew doesn't mind questions. I ask him and other questions all the time. So
yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks for coming on here. What else should people know? Or is there anything else they should know about this training? Or
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing with this is that I think, we all have these unique experiences, and they might be listening to this and going, oh my God, yeah, there was that time recently or years ago where I really felt this thing, or I heard or saw this thing, of an image, or kind of just this higher intuition, and maybe you went with it or maybe you went against it. That could be the real challenging thing, is following the intuition. Sometimes we'll have this moment of intuition and we'll go, I doubt that, and I'm going to go this other way. And then you go the other way and you go, I should have went that. I knew I was right. I knew it. I should have made this left turn. I knew that. And so I think the big takeaway is just starting to kind of turn a little more kind of within, and listening and to your own intuition, and trusting it. That's the big thing, is listening to that. And sometimes there's a little fear about, or some doubt about, oh wait, can I trust this? And once you start to kind of let some of the doubt or the fear go and trust it, that's when I think really things open up in a really beautiful, kind of magical way, where life kind of goes down different directions that might really surprise you in the most pleasant way, where either it's just more fulfilling, more joyous, more peaceful.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't trust my instinct very often. Even my 20-year-old was like, do you know how many times you were right and didn't trust your instincts about me? She's like, Mom, you need to trust your instincts. You're always right. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. So mothers, very intuitive, especially kind of with their children, and kind of that deep connection they have with, their children. They'll just have this kind of knowing, or just, this intuition about kind of what's happening with, themselves, or their relation to their kids. And that's, it's just learning to be able to trust that more, because we're so used to, in society, that we have to follow the logical mind, the rational, analytical mind, kind of just step by step, and it has to make clear sense. And in spirit and intuition, you just get this answer, and then you go, oh, how did I get that? Where did that come from? It was so fast. It was so easy. And that's what the hard part of it is that we're so used to things being difficult, or there's effort involved, where in spirit, it's just so non-effort. And just the more we're able to kind of slowly be aware of this intuition that kind of we get, and embrace it and follow it and trust it, again, we'll be kind of pleasantly surprised kind of where that takes us. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions. I kind of wish we were like actually live. I'll have to edit that out, because I want to see what types of questions come in, Like,
oh, right.
I can't imagine what they ask you, because I've been like trying to research, and there's some like really cool and interesting pieces on clairvoyancy and all of that. And then there are some that are like, So.
Yeah. I think the thing is that when we think of psychic, which, again, clairvoyance is a psychic ability. It's just a soul ability. So I think most people, when they hear psychic, it's that, weird store on the side of the road, or, this place, and they must be a scammer or con artist, and they're talking about the future. And you know, I haven't really actually come across that. You know, the people that I work with are very well trained, and I'm sure that might exist out there, but I
Right.
just haven't come across it. And it just kind of can give a bad name to kind of some of the stuff that I do. Where really,
Mm.
when we do readings, the way I teach people, it's more about just, it's a spiritual hello, just saying hello to that person, just psychically, spiritually, because we're so used to getting judged just based on our bodies. It's just, hey, I see your body, and we're used to getting judged. Where when someone closes their eyes and they start to say hello to you, it's just the seeing the spirit of you, and that can be really validating. To have that type of experience, it's very different.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Putting you on the spot and
Oh yeah, not a problem.
so, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Add questions below. Check out Andrew's website, Andrew and Heather's website at greenlight.yoga. Ask questions and check it out. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
See you.